All right. Well, we are live, and from Mount Juliet. Hello. And last week you had sinus infections, right?
There it is. Yeah, I did. It was nothing else. I'm very happy about that.
Good.
But I get those a lot, actually. I get those a couple times a year, and I've fought them for forever. And I usually know when it goes about 3 weeks and it hasn't left, then I know I need a little extra help with it. So, but I'm grateful that that's what it was. And you know the weather here. It's crazy.
It is. Like, I'm expecting sinus stuff after this weekend, after it's been really warm for a few days and then drops again. So, yeah.
And you put the heat on and you take the heat down and then you put it back on. It's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we got the puppy, and so she likes to nap in front of the fire, and it was 60 degrees. I'm out in the T-shirt, come in. I'm like, guys, it's 60 degrees. We need to turn the AC on. And there's the fire going. So, yeah.
You got a puppy. That's crazy. It's a Christmas puppy.
The Christmas puppy. We actually got her 6 years to the day we got Chico.
Oh, that is the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a puppy at Christmas.
For Rachel's 93-year-old grandma, who's lost 2 dogs this year, but then so she's done a lot for us, and she would love a pug, or love a puppy. So
wow, super sweet.
There's your hubby. Hello, Andrew. Thanks for joining in. So yeah, we got 5 viewers. So thank you all for tuning in. And if you wouldn't mind, just share on where you're coming from, where you're tuning in tonight. There's Rachel. She's tuning in from the other room. Yeah, you can hear her. And I'm sure that's where Andrew is too. Yeah, sorry we missed you all last week. We had illness and just sometimes just hard to get back into the groove. And of course, we didn't have it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving because we wanted to take a break and just be with family, even though most of us didn't travel. And so we wanted to make sure we spend holidays with the ones who are very important to us. And so thank you all for tuning in. And we got about 5. So let's go ahead and get going tonight. Tonight, like always, this is a ministry out of Pleasant Grove United Methodist Church in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And I don't know if you've been tuning into the new introduction, some of the new intros. This is the home of the late Charlie Daniels. And so for the country music fans, and so we sit right outside of Nashville. And of course, Nashville's been hit hard, and you've been hit really hard, haven't you? You're a musician, and so with COVID, it's taken a financial toll on you, and so this is it's really been impactful here for us right outside Music City. We have Janice Jenright from North Carolina, and then Beverly here from Mount Juliet, and she remembered it was Wednesday. It's very hard to remember what day it is, especially in this COVID time where every day runs together. But we are we're here tonight, and our reflections on COVID-19. Hindsight is 2020. We're going to frame tonight's subject. Talk about it a little bit, things that we've learned or things that we're experiencing during this pandemic. We're doing it live, so to keep everybody safe and be able to dialogue in one way or another through this, through the miracle, I think, of modern technology. I would have never thought this growing up, that we'd be able to do this.
No.
Or have a watch that you can answer something on. I saw it. I grew up with Kit and Knight Rider, and that was just far-fetched, right? So we're able to do these things tonight. And so tonight I picked out kind of the buzzword we've been hearing a lot about mandate or mandates. And there's been a lot of talk all over the nation for and against mask mandates. And now that the vaccines are coming out, the vaccine mandates. And it's just caused a lot of controversy, a lot of frustration on people who don't like the mandates and people who support the mandates. And the reason I want to talk about this is I heard a pastor right before Thanksgiving talk about how he didn't think it was Christian to make a church, people in his church, to make a mask mandate. And I thought a lot about that. Don't know this pastor and don't know really why he or she said they didn't feel it was Christian. So I just wanted to talk about this because I've heard other Christians talk about how it's not Christian to have a mask mandate and different things like that. And so I just want to talk about that from a theological perspective tonight. And so the first thing I did was look at what mandate is. Some people may or may not know what this means, but a mandate is an instruction, a directive, a command, or an order. And so, like I said, many Christians are against a mask mandate because I think a lot of them, they don't like being told what to do. But as Christians, we should be extremely familiar with mandates because the Bible is chock full of mandates in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Commands. We talk about commands, but that's the same thing. God doesn't say this is a suggestion. This is a good idea. God comes out and tells us, do this, don't do that. There are all sorts of commands, all sorts of mandates given to us human beings who want to follow God directly to us. And some of the best known commandments we should ever think of is, the 10 Commandments. My thing that I love pushing back with people who talk about, schools or law courts or courts taking the 10 Commandments out. I'm like, okay, well, tell me what are the 10 Commandments? I usually have Christians who want the 10 Commandments everywhere. They can't even name 3 of them. But we do have these 10 Commandments. We also have, when the rich ruler asked Jesus, well, what's the greatest commandment? And he says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and your neighbor as yourself. This is the greatest commandment. And even though the Bible a lot of times says you shall love, when you look at the Greek word and you look at the Hebrew word, and I've taken both of those in undergrad and graduate school, it's a commandment. It's not a suggestion. It's not a good idea. God says, love me like this and love your neighbor like this. And then we see it, my son, and in case you know this or don't, the Stump the Pastor, they're all spontaneous. I don't know what's coming to me. Even when Skylar, which she needs to do that again, by the way. Okay, is she around? Tell Pastor Brandon has mandated her to do a Stump the Pastor question.
We had a lot of fun with that. It's a great idea.
I love it. And then you all listening, if you have one, you don't have to be a kid. Send it to me. And I get it, but I don't open it. When I'm ready to video myself, that's when I do it, and I react for several reasons, but I do that. Brave. But then this Sunday, this was a question he wanted. Does God want us to be holy? Mm-hmm. I was, of course, I'm his dad, so I'm going to be like, oh, you're so awesome. But I was just blown away by that question he had as an 11-year-old, thinking about those things. And as we talked, I think one of the things he said, well, Dad, if you said no, then I was going to get upset with God. So, it's just this is something even kids think about. But, Bennett asked that in Leviticus when God was setting out all the laws of how to interact with people, but also how to live as God's people, as representatives of God in this world. He says, be holy like I'm holy. And then Peter picks up on this, and he doesn't let up either to Christians. The same mandate that we've had in the Old Testament, we still have now. Things haven't changed. This is what God demands and expects and has commanded us to be. And like I said, on Sunday, this is lived out as we as United Methodist as, perfect love of God and neighbor, loving God with all our heart, soul, body, and mind, and our neighbor. That's a very tall task. So these are just some of the snippets about mandates and about commandments. We as Christians, we should be very familiar, and honestly, we should be very comfortable with it. If we're not, I don't think we take some things seriously, which is what I want to move into. And this is what I was thinking about when Paul talks to the Romans. And he talks about law and grace and all of that, the relationship with it. I love how he frames how we see the law, or in this case, God's mandates on us. And he says, should we see that the law is sin? And he's like, by no means. If it wasn't for the law, I would not have known sin. And so when God says, don't do this or do this, he is saying we are capable as human beings of doing the wrong thing. Does that make sense? We're also capable of doing the right things. And as part of our membership vows, as well as United Methodists, do we want to accept the freedom and power God gives us to resist sin and injustice? And we're going to do everything we can to stop oppression and all of that. These are, we recognize there are wrong things, and we have the capabilities of doing wrong things and doing right things. And the law is saying, don't do this, do this. That's what it's for. That's what these mandates are for. And he goes on to say later in the 7th chapter, so the law is holy and the commandment is holy and just and good. So, these are holy things from God telling us these laws, these mandates of doing this and don't doing that. And so, if we don't take seriously laws and mandates, then I really feel that we don't take fully our understanding of sin. We don't take sin seriously in our capacity as human beings to do the wrong things, to make the mistakes. So if we take sin seriously, then we have to take commandments serious. And we also have to take God's laws serious. And we're supposed to follow these mandates all the time and every day. We don't get to pick and choose which days, which events, which things. We have to follow them constantly. It's this daily thing. And so I just want to wrap up my time with saying following God's laws protects ourselves from the sins that we can commit that would hurt ourselves and others as well. And then finally, just wearing a mask and getting the approved health vaccines. It protects us and it protects others. And so I just wanted to address the thing tonight about mandates. As Christians, we should be very comfortable. And as Christians, we should be fully willing to wear masks and to get these vaccines, these approved, health professional approved vaccines, because it does protect us and protect others. So with that, I just wanted to turn it over to Randi, and she's going to sing a great song.
Well, thank you, Pastor. I love doing these evenings with you. It's really great just to be able to check in. And I think back to what it was like before 2020, right? We would be gathering very possibly on a Wednesday night in our church, and people might be doing a choir rehearsal or youth study, or we might have Bible study, or we might have small groups, and we don't have those things right now. So like you said, just the fact that we can sort of get together and have a conversation, and I know it's us, but it's also the people out there. And, every week, I'm sure you feel this way too. You're just kind of making your way through, navigating, not knowing what's going to come up, one week to the next. And something you said just really struck me when we were talking about this. When I think about wearing a mask, as uncomfortable as it is, as strange as it is, even though we're used to it now, I think honestly that it's one of the most Christian things a person can do. And when you were talking about this evening, when I look around and I see these people, and even, my young child going, into stores wearing them. We've been wearing one all the time. I'm thinking she knows that she's doing something not just for herself, but for other people, and treating other people as we would wish to be treated is one of the themes that I remember learning really little when I got my first, kids Bible. And so when you were talking about mandates this evening, and the laws of, being kind, I thought of an original song that I had written, and I thought it might work. I don't think I've done it yet on our Wednesday night, but one of the stories that stuck with me at a very young age was the story of the Good Samaritan. I love this story for so many different reasons. As a young child, it was a message that I could understand, I could really grasp. But we also did in my little church back in New Jersey, we did a musical based on the story of a Good Samaritan. And so it was my first solo in a play, and I was cast as the Good Samaritan. So I started learning these words to these songs I was singing and the dialogue, and I was thinking about this man who most people were not fond of, was considered an outsider, cast away, who ended up being the one person along the road who really understood the concept of loving your neighbor and who cared for this person who was down on the road and who was hurt. And that really spoke to me because it was just a simple way to understand this idea. So when you talk about wearing a mask, that story really, and my little self learning that story comes to mind about what it means to love your neighbor as you'd love yourself, to want for yourself. You would want someone to care for you the way they'd want to care for themselves. So I thought tonight maybe I would share a song that I wrote actually about that story. It's a contemporary take on a really, really old story. And this song is original, and it's called You Can Call Me Sam. So I'm going to sing it for you guys right now. The road is long, we're all just trying to make it home. We know the song, but we've been singing it alone. Someone said that a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. The times are tough, and it gets so hard to see we're building walls between us when a bridge is what we need. Someone said that a neighbor is anyone who breathes the air you breathe, and I believe. You don't know me, you got no idea who I am. You're stuck on the road, tired and alone, so I'm gonna reach out a hand so you can see, maybe you'll believe we're part of a bigger plan. And if anyone asks, you can just call me Sam. The fear sets in, so we protect the things we know. We close our doors, but we can't make it out alone. Someone told me forgiveness opens up a place for peace to grow, for love to grow. You don't know me, you got no idea who I am. You're down on your luck, a little bit stuck, so I'm gonna reach out a hand so you can see, maybe believe there's a bigger plan. And if anyone asks, just call me Sam. You know the story, it's been passed down for ages. Maybe you heard it, maybe you read it in pages. Somebody's an outsider, maybe even hated, but they're the only ones who know God's love. The road is long, we're all just trying to make it home. We know the song, but we've been singing it alone. Someone told me a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. You don't know me, you got no idea who I am. You're stuck on the road, lost alone. I'm gonna reach out a hand so you can see, maybe you'll believe we're part of a bigger plan. And if anyone asks, you can just call me Sam.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was fun to share that. It's pretty new. I haven't sung it too many places yet, but
Oh,
it
wow.
makes me happy to think about, I don't know, that just to be reminded, of what we can do to care for one another, how we can. And I know it's sometimes, in lyrics we simplify things, but sometimes what I do is I take the messages that spoke to me, and I know it seems like, well, it's not that easy and life isn't that easy, but sometimes I think we make it more complicated. Sometimes I think it is easy, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's hard. It's not easy to always put another person first when we're trying to get through and when we're trying to just survive,
Yep.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you know that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll always say it's pretty easy to help somebody, but the hard part is making it inconvenient for you. That's the hard part.
Yes.
Somebody had to stop their intention, their direction, their plans, and put it on hold and help somebody in that story. And that's usually what it is. We find it inconvenient or untimely or uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, yeah.
And this story, I can't say too much because this is going to be the verses I'm using, not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that. I'm like, I got to save something. But somebody who people who would think that they don't deserve help.
Right.
And that's the power and the shock and awe of that. I mean, this was a shock and awe story.
Mm-hmm.
People were upset at Jesus when he said this. So yeah, which I'm sure people were upset with me saying, wear a mask, get over it, and all of that. So.
But you said a few weeks ago when we were having one of these Wednesday nights, you said something along the lines of sometimes being a Christian means being uncomfortable. And that's another theme that you hear all the time, is that it's not always easy. So, that makes it all part of it. We take that on.
Yeah, I think, especially here in America, we've really lost that understanding and maybe that character of sacrifice.
Sacrifice is a good word. Yeah.
Oh, like big time sacrifice. We'll sacrifice an hour on a Sunday and we'll sacrifice this. People say that, but these are, Jesus sacrificed his life. God sacrificed his only begotten Son. And I think we've lost that to an extent. So, and I'll admit I'm guilty of that as well. I live in a very nice house, nice neighborhood. I like to have nice things, have a nice truck, have nice dogs, have the awesomest wife ever. She hears that.
Oh my gosh, you're looking for points.
Yeah, I need all of them I can get. But sometimes if it can make me very, very comfortable and be like, I really don't want to do too much or sacrifice too much because I got all of this. But so I'm guilty of that. But we all need to. We lost that to a point. So. Yeah, well, if you have any questions or comments, please chime in. There aren't a lot of people watching on live, but if you have any questions, comments, we can post them up here and engage in dialogue. But yeah.
And then be sure to tell people that you post it too after the fact, which I just found out tonight, so that people can, because I think sometimes when people think they missed it live, I mean, can't quite engage in the same way, but it's fun to sort of be able to watch it after the fact. And I didn't know that you put them up. That's great to know.
Yep. So as soon as this is done live, it'll be a regular post, and so people can watch this or share it. Be sure to share with your friends and family, and especially on your page. And then I do post this on Instagram and YouTube, and so you can also go there. We got followers on all of them, so it's pretty cool. They're the two or three.
The little church with a big following. That's what it's going to be pretty soon.
Yeah, and you can see the ebbs and flow each week.
Right.
So yeah. Well, y'all, we're going to go ahead and just kind of wrap things up for tonight. There doesn't seem to be anybody responding, but thank you all for joining in tonight on this discussion. Yeah. We'll be back again next Wednesday, again at 6 p.m. And then after that, we're going to take a break and regroup after the first of the year and start a new time and a new date, possibly, just to see if anything can work better. Because this is one, it's a busy season. Rachel has a bunch of Zoom parties. We're all still making the best of it. And
it's crazy. It is crazy. And it feels almost, I don't know if I should even say this out loud, but it feels almost harder in some way doing the Zoom thing. I think it's with the different time zones. We'll have to ask you and Rachel if you feel that way too, but like the time zones and the where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be. And now you can kind of be more available for things, which is awesome, but trying to navigate, it's different. It's different. It's great, but it's different.
And then just interacting on this takes more out of me than just sitting in a meeting or something like that.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot you got to think about.
Yeah. But it is a lot more comfortable, I'll say that.
You have your pajamas on, don't you?
Pretty much, yeah. I was filming to get ready to film a sermon, and I came out with this nice shirt on. I had like track pants on, and then it goes, COVID church or something.
2020, whatever. That's business casual, business.
Yeah. But it's funny. Rachel come down with makeup on and all of that with the pajama bottoms on, and it's funny.
Good for her. I mean, what?
Yeah. The kids were laughing at me today about this, and I'm like, hey.
It's a new world.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, you have a wonderful evening. We'll hopefully see you back next week, and hopefully see you Sunday at worship at 10 a.m. Central Time.
Yep.
So have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Great seeing everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right.